Subcommittee will come to order. Let me welcome the Public Buildings Commissioner, Bob Peck. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon. I want to congratulate you, first of all, on the start of a new development here. That's one of the things that's changed since a year ago today. We certainly want to cover a number of other topics. The other thing that's changed is it's a lot warmer this year. So, I also want to thank Chairman Micah for being here today and thank him for his leadership in addressing the government's gross mismanagement of federal real estate. I'm very pleased and excited that finally we have some good news when it concerns the old post office. It's a major step in turning around this property and a real success for the chairman's efforts. I look forward to learning more about the selection of the Trump organization today. I'm also interested in learning what other progress and setbacks GSA has made in the last year to reduce the amount of vacant and underutilized property nationwide. 1 year ago, we met in this building to highlight the waste of taxpayer money on vacant and underutilized federal buildings. We chose the old post office because it's a symbol of a larger national problem and how the system for solving it is broken. If the taxpayer can lose $6 million a year on prime Pennsylvania Avenue real estate halfway between the White House and the Capitol, then similar properties must be sitting all across the country. In this case, Congress held multiple hearings and passed 2 laws requiring the redevelopment, yet years and years passed before we could get to the point of announcing a redevelopment team. The bottom line is the system is broken and we need a new process to sell or redevelop these properties. It was at our hearing last year that I first proposed using an independent commission to identify properties for sale and redevelopment and forcing Congress to give them an up or down vote. Since that hearing, I drafted and introduced the Civilian Property Realignment Act, and just this week the House passed H.R. 1734, the Civilian Property Realignment Act, with bipartisan support. That legislation will literally shrink the federal footprint by selling or redeveloping high-value properties that are underused and burning a hole in the taxpayer's pocket. In addition, since our hearing last year, the administration directed federal agencies to save $3 billion by selling or consolidating federal property. We want to hear about the progress that GSA has made, how many buildings have been sold, what were the sale proceeds, and how long will it take to work through the backlog of excess properties at that rate. Over the years, the committee highlighted several large underutilized properties, and as far as we can tell, GSA has done little to sell, redevelop, or fill them with federal employees. For example, the Dyer Federal Courthouse continues to sit completely empty in Miami. In the New York City area, a huge federal building has been 50% underutilized for almost a decade. In Washington, D.C., the Cotton Annex sits empty on property CBO valued at $150 million. And then there are those examples where GSA is spending millions of dollars and taxpayer will end up with even more vacant or underutilized property. One of those examples that I've continued to highlight in Los Angeles, GSA intends to spend $360 million and completely abandon a 700,000 square foot courthouse and a significant portion of a federal building. In Norfolk, Virginia, we recently learned GSA was sued for condemning private land to build a courthouse that we don't need and don't have the money to construct. From our perspective, it appears GSA is selling or redeveloping a few properties, making little progress on most properties, and spending millions to add to our excess property inventory. On balance, I'm not sure if our excess inventory problem is growing or shrinking, something we certainly want to hear about today. And on top of all of this, GSA has failed to respond to committee requests for basic financial information about GSA's budget. While I'm pleased GSA has taken an important step to redevelop the old post office, I'm very concerned about what GSA is doing with the rest of its inventory. Again, I thank Mr. Peck for being here today, and at this time, Chairman Micah, I'd like to recognize the full committee chairman who's been a real leader in addressing this problem of wasteful federal properties.